Hi, my name's Steve Large and I want to talk just a little bit about how I got to where I am today and a bit about the path. One of my first memories was of at the age of 2, my mum and dad splitting up. I can remember asking my dad why he wasn't coming with us as we left. And this has stuck with me through my entire life. This is the things that I am dealing with now and I'm overcoming and understanding. Next memory was at the age of, I think it was about 8, my dad died, which broke my heart. I never really cried at the time. I didn't know how to express how I felt. This built up a lot of anger, and I had a stepdad at the time and a mum and a sister, and being the way I am, I didn't resonate with them. So I always felt left out, misunderstood, and a lot of the stuff I wanted to discuss was not appreciated from the aspect of they didn't understand it, so they didn't know how to explain it. So I was living a life of anger at losing my dad, first of all when I was younger and then with his death. Then I took to my granddad, who then became the new father figure in my life, and I lost him a few years after that, which also caused a great deal of suffering, which led to a lot more anger. I was getting bullied in school, regular, running home, crying. I overcame this. I learned to fight back, which was never in my nature, but I understood I needed to do something to survive. And I started building a character that protected my loving side through anger and violence, because I was already getting more and more angry and violent due to the loss and the suffering and not understanding what was going on. My teenage years, I think from about the age of 13, I started drinking quite heavily. I was smoking weed, doing acid and many other drugs, and that was the path that I ended up on. I was knocking around with lads of the age of 20, 21 when I was 13, going into pubs, just living that lifestyle, going into school, drunk, stoned, and that's how I lived. I didn't know any different. I'd gone fully in my mind because my heart had been broken so much. So my mind protected me, because that's what your mind does. It looks after you. As I got older, I met a couple of guys who were related to my uncle. They were his brothers, who were my best friends. They were very empathic people, and we resonated. So I found 2 people in my life who got me. We understood each other, and we became soul brothers. We were one. I lost these 2 best friends at a car crash that I survived, and another friend who also died in the car crash. So after this, I took to drinking and drugs even more, on the thing of I had PTSD and I just wanted to kill myself. I couldn't cope, so I drank more, done more drugs. I was violent, I was lashing out, and I had another friend, and she was my rock, and she had always been part of the group of 5 of us. So there was me and her left. A year later, she was killed in a hit and run, which absolutely broke my heart. I was 21 at the time, and I didn't know which way was up. I was in despair. No one understood me. Because I was empathic anyway, I felt a lot more. And this had been the continuing story of my life. So I just drank. I spent the next 10, 12 years into crime heavily, and doing as much dangerous stuff as I could to hopefully just die without actually killing myself. I was heavily into cocaine. I'd been on speed for years, drinking whiskey out the bottle with a lot of my friends, and we used to party hard. I used to do 4-day sessions without sleep, without eating, and I used to do that quite regularly, because the best thing that could happen to me is I wouldn't wake up, or I'd keel over and die. That was for me. That's all I wanted, was the pain to stop, because I didn't know how to deal with it. I met my wife in 2009, which was an absolute blessing. Shortly after, she became pregnant with my lovely son Stephen. This made me want to live. So I decided that I no longer want to die. I want to be here for him, and I want to be here for her. So I started seeking answers, trying to understand who I was and why I was the way I was, and how to put right all this stuff that was in my head, the anger and the aggression and the road rage, the fighting all the time. And I wanted to put an end to that, to be a better person, to be a better husband, to be a better dad. And that was my passion now, to get better and understand who I am. I met a guy, Sam Nankani from KO South Gym over in South London, who became, first of all, my master in Muay Thai, and I spent 3 years training with him 6 days a week, who later on became one of my best friends. And a guy called Adrian Sonics also helped me with the hypnotherapy. He helped me stop smoking, he helped me come to terms with the drinking, the PTSD, and I started understanding at this point that my thoughts are just thoughts from conditioning, from all these experiences. They didn't affect the day other than the fact that I let them affect that day. So I started understanding the difference between who I am and my thoughts. So this was a process. This has been a process for me to where I am today over a good 8 years. But it was the best process I've had because I understand who I am now and what I'm about. I also decided to get to New Zealand. I was guided by my intuition. I follow my intuition now religiously and not my mind. My mind is just a tool that sort of analyses what it perceives as better for me and worse for me. So it doesn't like change. If something seems good for me, it likes to stick at that. So it doesn't enable growth. So anything that's a challenge, it sees as bad, and it's not bad. So we need to recondition the mind to see anything that's a challenge as good for growth, so we can change ourselves and become happier people, truly happier people that aren't identifying with our minds. I know I go on about the mind a lot, but the key to happiness and awakening is understanding your mind and that you are not your mind. Because the minute you disassociate with your mind, you are awoken. And that's the key. It's as easy as that. You quieten your thoughts and you become conscious. Now, this is why I went into hypnotherapy myself, to help people understand this, and so I can help people on their path to waking up and to a better life. I want to give back what I received. No way am I doing this through ego. I don't want to go back into my ego, and I hope me explaining myself helps to help you understand that ego is not for me, and all it did all my life was suffering. That's all it created. I was the bad man, I was the hard man, you didn't mess with me, and who are you, and do you know who I am, and just all that absolute mind-based rubbish. None of it mattered, and none of it does today. All that matters today is to be able to show love and preach the word of love. And I'm not a preacher, but the word of love needs to be told and taught. And we need to embrace it and to teach our kids this. Now, this is all from my perspective, and I've explained briefly, like there's a lot more to it than that, but that's just a brief story of my life to where I got to today. And everything I say is me listening to my intuition and from my perspective and my experiences. But what it's not is ego based. So none of what I say is from the ego. I'm not looking for attention, I'm not looking for reaction. I am just saying out to anyone that it resonates with is, I know how hard life can be, and I also now know how great life can be. This is the first time in my life that I'm actually truly happy, and I am happy, even though I do look miserable a lot of the time. But that's, I don't know, maybe I've worn that face for too long, I'm not too sure, but I am smiling more, and I'm definitely happy at where I am in life. I just want to put this message out there as a message of just hope, and for anyone who's struggling and in dark times now, to know that no matter how dark the times are, there's still light, there's still hope. We're all suffering to some degree, but what we need to do is to understand that it's temporary and most of it's mind-based. We can overcome it and find true happiness and shine our light. Well, I hope this has resonated with some people, and I just want to say love and light and have a great day.